one-step story problems. In particular, we're going to go first from an equation, like say, for example, 285 plus 197 to what is that story problem? One thing I want to call out in here is that in our story problem, we're going to be using something called a variable, and that is this letter on the end, where we have two letters here, or we have one letter at the very end, and that stands for the thing that we're looking for, our unknown in our problem. So in this case, I've got 285, and I've got 197, and I know that it means adding, right? It's already given to me in my equation. I want to provide this idea of a context. Okay? When we think of a context, it's when or where it is happening. Okay? We really want to be thinking about this because it gives us an idea about how that might make sense for us all together. So in here, I'm going to start with my total, which is something like there are 285 people at the game. Then I want to add to it, and there are a lot of words that I could use to go about using the idea of adding here. I might say that more came along. I could say that some were added to. I could say that there were others combined, another group that has this word combined. So I could think about that in the context of what I'm adding. So there are 285 people at the game. Then, using another sentence here, then 197 more people came to the game. So at this point, I've given a context for it, but I'm not really asking a question. And I want to make sure that, in particular, when we're talking with story problems, the most important part of this is the question that we're asking. What do we want people to be looking for? That's what gives them an idea of an equation and thinks about how they're going to solve it. So here I would say, how many total people are at the game? Another sentence I could have used as my question there could be something like, how many people are there combined? Okay. Or how many people in all? All of those would have been great questions that I could use in order to help tell the person that they are going to need to add in this context here. Okay. I'll highlight those in here because these here are going to signal to my reader that they need to go about adding total. Okay. We can do the same thing for subtraction. So let's come on down here and we'll do something here. And again, I could go back and solve that here if I wanted to, but we'll go down and we're going to leave the solving for you a little bit later. In this case, I'm going to start with, say, 300, and I'm going to take away 126. And again, I'm solving at the end for something. In this case, it's x. So I don't know what x is. That would be what normally you'd see in early elementary grades as a question mark. That's what our unknown is. So here again, I want to go back to this idea about subtraction. When I'm thinking about subtraction, I'm looking at taken away. I'm also looking at the idea of left or used when we've used something. And in this case, I could think of my 300 and go, well, let's think of our context for this. I had 300 points in my game, and I could name the game if I wanted to. I'm not going to be too worried about it. I lost 126 points in level 3. How many points are left? I also could say in here how many points remaining. How many points do I still have? Again, this is that idea here that some of them have gone away. Still have, for some people, it's like, oh, some are gone. And I want to make sure that that's really apparent. Here, I'm going to highlight this idea of remaining. Remember, you got to get to your question mark at the end, right? And then that tells people specifically that I have this equation, 300 minus 126 equals x. Give that a shot as you're working today while you're working on your equations, turning equations into word problems, and then make sure to solve.